Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever time you guys are watching this video. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you guys are having a good day as always. So what are we going to be talking about today? We're going to be talking about Q&A. Questions that I'm going to answer that you guys have. So I picked a perfect day. I don't know if you guys know this, but I asked this yesterday. Had no clue I was going to do this today, but it's probably actually a really good day to do this because of the weather outside. Let me show you. It is a crappy day, guys, as you can see. I got my fiance's car because I need to track down a battery voltage draw on it, which is kind of tedious on cars, especially newer cars, because the battery voltage draw issues are always tough because there's so many electronics on the cars, so many things that they can be drawing power from constantly. So I actually need to go drive this. I would drive the Cobra, but as you can see, on a slick in the rain, that is not a good idea. So instead, I'm gonna get her keys. It's Valentine's Day today. I still haven't gotten her anything yet, so I need to get her something because obviously she's gonna come back here and get her car, but I wanna surprise her with a good gift for Valentine's Day. So let's go get that present. I gotta go get my jumper box. We're gonna jump this friggin' car. We'll get on with this video. All right, you guys, so it's a little later in the day. Obviously, you can see it's dark outside. Might as well have a good background, right, guys? So yeah, so let's jump into this video. Let me pull my phone out. We'll do a little bit. I'll scoot a little closer to the car. So I think actually the first person to do a question was actually Bert, and it's been a long time. What's up, bud? I haven't seen you in a minute. Hope you're doing good. But he asked me, looking to buy a 14 F350 6.7, anything I should look for ahead of time. I think the 14 6.7s, I don't know a ton about them. I think in 15 they changed the turbo. Might have been 14. One of those years, but I know that those years, 14, 15 were good. Only I think really early on, like the 11s had a turbo issue, and then after that, you know, they all can potentially have issues. They're all engines and they have potential failures, but the 6.7 I think is a pretty solid platform. No matter what year you get into, anything like that. Obviously, ultimately the best is a 17 to 19 because it's just the newest. Obviously the 2020 is going to change that and become better, but I think as long as, you know, you check the basics, look at the oil, make sure, you know, it looks good, smells good, doesn't have anything, it's not overfilled, that's a big sign. Make sure there's no coolant in there, and vice versa. Make sure there's no oil going into the coolant reservoir, because that'll happen usually because oil pressure is higher than coolant pressure, and if the cylinder head lifts, it'll a lot of times, you know, if it's lifted between those two ports but not into the cylinder, you'll see oil sharing between there. Or if an oil cooler has died, which can happen, you'll see it start pushing oil into the coolant. So check those things, make sure there isn't any oil or anything in there. And then obviously just weird noises, make sure, you know, it's been taken care of. The longer the service record, the better off you are, but drive it. If I could give you guys a big piece of advice on any car, drive the thing, make sure it drives good, feels good, and if you have any concerns, voice them right away. Let the buyer know, or the seller, I should say, let the seller know your concerns. Buyer concerns are always a big deal, and they usually will help you and give you a discount if you have any concerns. So on the Instagram, Bitch50 asks, what pulley setup are you running? Fuel question. So my pulley setup is a 10.55 inch lower pulley. It's technically, I believe, a 4-pound for a CTSV, but Metco makes all their rings the same, and they only differ on the hub. So that's the beauty of buying Metco. The pulleys are kind of interchangeable. As long as you have a Metco style, you know, hub, you can switch between any of their lower pulleys. I run what would be considered a 12-pound is where I would put it. I think they have a 9.55 inch, I believe, is a 10-pound. They offer that on their website. You can ask them to get a 10.55 inches, which is what I have. If you want, very easy to install, in my opinion. You don't really have to do any modifications, just kind of shove a coolant line over and make sure it stays. And other than that, I did an idler set, and it's on a stock upper. So it's a 3.65, I think, is what the stock upper pulley is on these, maybe 3.62, something like that. As you can see, it's huge, it's ginormous, it still has, you know, the factory everything on it. So one of the reasons why I did that is because I like to have a lot of belt wrap on my upper pulley. This car never gives me belt slip ever. You know, I've driven this car hard a lot of miles and it doesn't give me any belt slip. But I also do have a very tight belt. My belt is really kind of difficult to get on, as any belt on a blower car should be, in my opinion. So as for fuel, I run E85, and the fuel system on this car is very simple, very simple. It has 2 Aeromotive fuel pumps in it. the fuel number. As far as fuel pumps and fuel system, this is the fuel pump that I'm running, guys. Let me get my face in here. This will focus. You guys can see they're expensive. They're not cheap. Here's the part number right here for what they are. 2 of these. They used to be, when you bought these pumps, they came perfect and you could basically plug and play them into the Cobra. Just take your hat out, disconnect your other fuel pumps, and then basically replace them with these, and away you went. But now the way that Aeromotive did it is, maybe they got a new manufacturer for the pump, who knows, but they have a new style connector. Instead of the connector being built into the top of the fuel pump, it actually has just 2 wires coming out going to a GM style weather pack connector. So great pumps. I just have those fuel pumps in there along with a stock fuel filter, which needs to be checked and changed. I haven't checked it or I haven't looked at it. I'm going to do that actually very soon. And then ID 1050 injectors to go along with that. And that is all that's ever been done to this fuel system. Basically stock, no boosted pump, no nothing. Dalton Tidmore says, what is the plan for the Fox body? So the Fox body is obviously, you know, it's funny you ask. We have some parts for it. I went and picked up this cam right here, guys. We got ourselves a camshaft. It is a 228R, which is a good cam for a 5.3. I wish it was a little bigger, to be honest. And then I have my old cylinder heads that came off the motor that was in there, and we're gonna put an LS back in it. So I also have some small block Chevy bearings right here, some Cleveite bearings if I need them to slap some rod bearings in it, just in case. They're race bearings, so they're pretty good. They're like $200 for bearings. They're expensive, but I got them just in case I got a motor that was just starting to spin some bearings LS wise, because people didn't take care of it, some dirt got in there, whatever the case may be. But we're working on that. Plans are coming shortly for that, so stay tuned. We're obviously going to be trying to get that car to go pretty fast. We're going to see video on it, and we're obviously going to race it against this, but we're going to probably borrow the wheels off the Cobra and put them on that car to go race for realsies, and you know, hopefully have some fun doing that. And I'll show you guys all the ins and outs of messing with it, tuning some suspension, breaking it, fixing it, you know, doing all the normal things, maybe blowing the motor up on a 5.3, you know, who knows. Ultimately, we want to go Coyote turbo, but I think for the meantime, we will go with the LS because it has everything to run the LS. It's already set up to do that. We just need a motor. So next is, what's your background when it comes to working on cars? How long have you been wrenching yourself, and who did you learn from? And this was SVT Travis, by the way. You always have good comments, and I appreciate the support, bud. It's awesome. My background basically comes from a little bit of doing it with my dad. When I got, you know, growing up, he was really working a lot and at the same time doing some simple stuff on the cars. So he taught me, you know, oil changes and that, and literally by probably 10 to 11 years old, I was doing all the oil changes on all the cars in the family. You know, he had taught me enough between 6 and 7 that at that age, he was like, go ahead and do it if you can break it loose. And that's where I just kind of started learning on my own. You know, I luckily had a good life and got to run around and play as a kid and throw rocks and learn some basic physics and, you know, get a good understanding of how the world works. I think that really helped with, you know, my dad giving me the freedom. It builds confidence, and so it really gave me a lot to work with as a kid at a young age. And then I just started doing oil and got like a little more in depth, and I got to see what was going on. And also my dad was engineer, really smart. And in high school and college, he raced cars. He actually had, him and his college roommates had a, 2 cars were made of a Hemi Barracuda, and they were made for like a pro stock type class. And there was only literally 2 made like this, one for the West Coast, one for the East Coast. And they had the car that was for the West Coast, and they used to, in Las Cruces, race at New Mexico State. They'd drag race that car there, go like 10, 20, 10, something like that back in the day. Race on, I think he said, Saturday night, tear the motor down Sunday, rebuild it Monday, and then go race Friday through Saturday. He did a lot of drag racing in college, and so he had a lot of knowledge and a lot of prior knowledge to bring over, and so I'd ask him questions and he'd always answer them. And I think that was, like I said, it played a big factor in me learning and you know, anything. I'd ask him anything and he just always knew right away. He could just answer it immediately and really break things down in a way that helped me understand it, which is also, I think, part of the reason I have a passion for doing this and teaching and helping you guys, is because this is something like, you know, he taught me, and I feel like it's only fair for me to do the same for anybody else that wants to learn. So, you know, I was always willing to learn, and he would always teach me, and that was kind of, you know, really cool, and that was a big thing. And How long have I been doing it? I've been doing it professionally since, on and off, since I was like 16. I got my first job at Speed Dreams, which is where I previously worked was Motiva Performance. Before that, it used to be called Speed Dreams. A guy named Trip owned it. That was my first job. Started there at 16 and then worked for about 6 months, 7 months on cars. Hated it, absolutely hated it. I quit, was like, I'm never doing this again. I don't want to be a professional mechanic. And that's right around the time that the place changed names from Speed Dreams to Motiva. And at that time I left and went to California, and I was hanging out with my buddies in Cali, doing a little bit of car stuff, not much. And then it was back in 2010 when I got my job back at Motiva. I really got back into the game and put my head into it and really started concentrating and doing work. And you know, I always obviously did some stuff in between there, but professionally now I've been doing it, I would say, since 2010, and it's now 19, so I have just about 9 years of consistent wrenching on cars. And really, the learning thing, going back to speaking to my dad, I learned a lot from him at a young age. I learned the basics, but I would say I learned a lot of good hands-on knowledge just by being able to work at a shop and work under people that were very smart. I worked under a guy named Scott Fox, who was the tuner and part owner of Motiva Performance. Awesome guy, very, very awesome guy. Laid back, very modest, and very smart. He had been a mechanic prior, been around since the beginning of time as far as AEM tuning and doing individual or aftermarket ECU tuning, like, you know, AEM, Holley, I mean, you name it, he's messed with it, tuned it. He had a lot of knowledge on the tuning front, and you know, he was obviously the tuner, so I did primarily working on cars. He'd do all the tuning on cars. I would say we worked well together. We're both very like-minded people. So when you get two very like-minded people together in a room that enjoy what they do, you really get this good outcome. And so we really kind of fed off each other and played off each other. And I think that's important in anything you do in life. You got to have people around you that are on the same page and they like what they do and they want to, you know, help further the industry and push people and do that. And we learned a lot even together, just working on cars and having things fail. And, you know, you really learn from your failures. And I think that was a big thing together. We didn't have, actually, him and I, a lot of failures. We were pretty good at it. You're always going to have some, you know, it's like this car. It doesn't really make that much horsepower, you know, actual horsepower is like 422 horsepower, but we have failures, guys. We have belts squealing, we have pulleys blow up, we have fuel pump lines pop off that I put on, you have trannies make noises, you have, you know, all these crazy things that just happen, you know, with a car that isn't planned. Nobody plans this. It's just, it's a part of the life, it's a part of the game. Yeah, it's pretty cool that I got to learn that much, you know, and really spend a lot of time with him, because he's somebody I truly, honestly respect and will always respect. Actually, what's funny is he actually commented in here. He said, have you been tempted to push the easy button and auto swap it? I have, only recently because of this transmission issue that I've had, but you always got to have fun banging gears, you know. I could never auto swap this car, I don't think, guys. I think this car is always going to be a street car. This car is never going to be the fastest car either. My ultimate goal for this car is I want to go 10s. So if you guys know, I wanted to go to Texas 2K this year. I'm getting married this March, so the wedding's too close to Texas 2K time frame, and I'm not going to be able to go. Unfortunately, it's a real bummer because I really wanted to go. The sad thing is I feel like the car is pretty much there and would be able to go 10s on a stock blower, non-ported. So he also said underneath that, and have you been tempted to put a little spray on it or swapping out the stock blower? I have been tempted to put spray on it. I really debated putting spray on it because it would really wake the car up. If I put a 50 shot on it, I truly feel the car would wake up. My one reservation on putting spray on the car is it wouldn't have enough fuel. We already had problems with the bigger blower, around 600 horsepower, and the fuel system not being responsive enough. Now you can do a wet shot with the nitrous and do it that way, and I understand that. I preferably would like to have it to where I had maybe two tunes, a nitrous tune and a non-nitrous tune, and have all the fueling done through the injectors. That way it's a good dry shot and we get good fueling in there, good atomization and all that. Yeah, I think ultimately one day maybe we will. Maybe I'll grow a pair and we'll put it on nitrous, and I'll have a standalone with some really high quality race gas or something like that in there. And as far as swapping out the stock blower, yeah, I would absolutely love to put a 2650 on it, a VMP 265, which is their Gen 3. I would love to put on here. I love the VMP-23 of Alex Creer's that we borrowed and put on the car. It was a lot of fun that way. But if we do that, fuel system is incoming, obviously, because we need to do that. And I don't know if I'm ready to take that dive to big blower fuel system. It gets very expensive very quickly because it's a lot. You know, fuel system's probably $2,000. And then on top of that, we have to get the blower, which is probably at least another $4,000. And then the time and energy to install it. So we're looking at a cool $6,000. And then we probably have to do some rear end stuff at that point and some more suspension. So I think instead of going that route, we'll go suspension first. I'll show you guys. I want to hit up Viking. I talked to them at SEMA. I still haven't got to speak with them. But I want to work a deal out with them and get some of their coilovers on here and get the car really hooking and booking, get the rear end lowered back down so it sits level, and you know, get the car to just hook up well and see how fast we can go stock blower. Like I said, I want to go 10, so that's the goal before we go big blower, if we do. Otherwise, I may have a plan in the future for a new car, but I think we may try and keep it the same color. We may. Things go well, we may have a cool setup here, guys, not too long future. So Mario 1 of 281 says, would you sell the Cobra? If yes, what price range? Now that's a tough question. Would I sell this car? It's hard to say. This car's been with me for a long time. I've had it, I say a long time, but really it's been a couple years, and you know, I really truly believe this car was a amazing find and played a big role in my life and my relationship with God, and just, it's kind of crazy how this car came to be. So this car it's got a big spot in my heart because of that, and I don't know if I could sell it. If I did, I would probably ask around the range of 36 to 37 as it sits, with the wheels and tires and everything that goes with it. And you know, people would be like, well, it's crazy, it's, you know, only worth 30,000 or whatever, blah 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 blah. You know, the car still only has, it's under 30,000 miles. It's at 29.2, almost 29.3. And then we have a T56 Magnum in it. It has weld wheels with Hoosier tires, and then, you know, I'm going to fix the other aluminum tank, but it's got nice custom aluminum tanks, a good clean intake. The engine bay is clean. The interior is almost immaculate. I mean, this car paint is immaculate. Bumpers aren't faded really. This one has a little bit of fading on it, but you know, that's just a comp orange thing. It would be next to impossible, I feel like, to replace this car, and I don't know that I ever could replace it. So that's part of the reason why I don't think I could get rid of it, because of those things. So if I did, though, you'd have to offer me a pretty penny and definitely make it worth my time, and I think that pretty penny would have to be probably about $37,000 to take it off my hands now. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this video, you guys. I hope you enjoyed it. It's very long, I know that. I hope you guys learned something. I hope you learned something about me. This car has the number 777 on the windshield, and the Fox body, when it came, had the number 777 on the windshield. So, but I truly believe that's a sign from God. The fact that those two cars came like that. I mean, I bought this car from a buddy, no inkling of, no knowledge of anything, and it just came that way. I mean, what are the odds of that? I feel like, you know, God having some fun and teaching us and showing us. So I really truly believe we're gonna have some good fun times in that Fox body, and it's gonna be a blast. You guys gotta stay tuned for that. We are working on it. We're gonna get it done. But as always, I appreciate you guys for watching. If you're new to the channel, feel free to hit the subscribe button. And if you like this video, give it a big fat thumbs up. I hope you learned something about me. As always, it's time for you guys to get the heck out of here, and I'll catch you in the next video.